This is ASMR. Am I giving you the rock tinglies?
You guys told us to never give up.
Okay, I know I'm doing yoga all of a sudden.
Life's just one big lesson, am I right? Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey.
My name is Becky.
And we are the Story Girls.
And sometimes we mess up in life. Over the years, we've done like a ton of DIYs and they can't all work out all the time, but sometimes we show you our fails, so we think it's interesting to see like what happened, what went wrong, maybe talk about the fails, and often get your advice about how to fix them in the future in the comments.
Oh, do you guys ever give us advice? We get told when we fail or do a DIY, maybe not the best way. But that's okay, it's all about the journey.
Yeah, so we thought it'd be fun today to go back and revisit some of our iconic fails and maybe take some advice from you guys. Maybe we've learned a little bit more since then and try and redo them again, and hopefully they aren't fails this time. So we have 3, and I will start with the first one.
Good luck.
Thanks. Okay, so the first quote-unquote fail that I'm gonna try and redo today is the dollar store shoe tray that I made in the previous dollar store challenge. So I had this idea to go into the dollar store and make this tray filled with rocks that you could put wet shoes on as kind of like a place to put dirty shoes in your front hallway. And the reason I had this in my mind is because I had known that the dollar store sold certain materials that I could make this out of, so that was the plan going in. But once I got there, the dollar store didn't have the rocks that I know they carry, and they didn't have a simple rubber shoe mat, which I don't know why they didn't have. And the plan to do this shoe rack was so in my head that I was just like, I gotta find another way to do it. I can't think of anything else. So we made this thing out of like glass beads, and the pattern was cute. I said I liked it. Looks awesome. But then I later admitted in a Q&A that I actually didn't like this DIY at all. I hated how it turned out.
Becky, have you ever lied about liking a DIY?
Yes, this one. You guys in the comments said you didn't like it either. You also suggested that I make it out of something different, which is why today I'm gonna redo it the way I wanted to do it. I went back to the dollar store and they did indeed have the rocks that I had planned to use that very first dollar store challenge. So I picked up a bunch of those and that's what I'm gonna use today, but the rest of the materials are not from the dollar store because I just wanna make it the way I wanted to make it. If I'm gonna redo it, I might as well do it to something that I like. It's something I'm gonna make in my house. So I'm gonna be making it out of wood and rocks and kind of make this gorgeous rock shoe tray. So the plan is to make a wooden tray that my rocks can sit in. So to do that, I have this piece of 1x2 inch cedar that I'm gonna make the edges out of, and I have this large piece of 1/4 inch plywood that I'm gonna make the base out of. So I'm gonna start by cutting out all the pieces to assemble this tray. Okay, so I went ahead and measured and cut out all of my pieces. So I have 1 large piece to be the base of the tray, 2 smaller ones for the shorter sides, and 2 longer pieces for the longer side. I just want to give a quick shout out to our blog. I love our blog. Daniela runs it. It's amazing. It often has even more information than we can list in the videos on the blog. So if you want to know the exact measurements for all of the numbers of the wood that I cut out now, it's going to be listed on the blog if you want to make it exactly how I am. So go ahead, check out the link below and give the blog some love. So next up is going to be assembling my tray. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to use some wood glue to attach my 4 side pieces to the base. And I'm gonna be using that in combination with a nail gun to make this really simple. But don't worry, you can definitely manually put in some nails to keep this together if you aren't quite comfortable using a nail gun yet. Okay, so this is how the frame of my tray is looking. It's really cute so far. This is much more what I was hoping it could look like. Since the idea of this is to put wet shoes on it, I would need the bottom of it to be somewhat waterproof so that the wood doesn't get all rotted too easily. So what I picked up from the hardware store is this plastic runner that you would use on stairs. It's very affordable. It's like $2 a foot. So I'm just gonna cut out a rectangle that can go in the bottom of this so that the water can sit on this instead of the wood. And then in combination with that, I'm gonna be using some silicone to go around the edge just to seal the edge of this tray. So once my seal around all the edges was completely dry, it's time to actually fill this thing with rocks. So in my first attempt, I actually went in and glued each rock down piece by piece, but that was because I was creating a pattern and the tray itself didn't really have a way to keep the rocks in. But this time, since we created a real tray, we can just throw the rocks in and let them be in. It's so much easier than having to glue them down rock by rock. I just want to say that I am very happy. This is what I was hoping for in my very first dollar store challenge. I mean, maybe without the wood because it was a dollar store challenge at the time, but I really wanted these rocks. I love the look of them. I'm glad that I was able to redeem myself on this one. So let me show you how my original, not so ideal attempt went, and now this is how my redemption attempt at DIYing this shoe tray went. I think I like this current version a lot better, but you can tell me below.
Well guys, we are back here again. Didn't think we'd be here again, but when we decided to do a recreating our failed DIYs video, we realized that some of you still wanted to see a different method in how to do the terrazzo DIY. So since then, I've learned how to say terrazzo, not terrazzo. And also, we're going to try it today without painting because although the end product looked good, it wasn't more along the lines of the traditional way to make it. And we're still not doing the traditional way. That way is not very accessible for the average person, such as myself. So today we're gonna go back to breaking up some pieces, which is what I tried the first time that it failed and the second time that it failed. But I've learned something, and that is to use flat objects. So before I was kind of using bowls or things that were curved and placing them on top of the concrete. But this time I'm going to be using plates, placing them at the bottom, and I'm going to be using plaster of Paris instead of concrete just because I am making something a little bit smaller, and plaster of Paris is a little bit easier to work with versus concrete. You guys told us to never give up. You told us to try resin, which I did want to try, but honestly, maybe another video. I need to work my way into resin. I'm not ready to tackle it full force yet. And you also recommended that I put the pieces on the bottom, which is what I am going to try today. Instead of putting them on top, that way everything comes out a little bit more flat. Less sanding needed. Love that. And then for the mold for this, instead of building it from scratch, which I did last time with the wood, I'm going to be using this pan that we picked up from the thrift store for a couple of dollars. Now, I'm not sure how plaster of Paris works with aluminum or metal. I read that you might need a mold release agent. Jury's still out. The internet couldn't give me all of the answers to my questions. But today I'm actually going to try to line it with wax paper just to make sure that it doesn't stick, as I don't want this to be another fail. But it's not gonna be a fail, and I'm gonna be with you guys until the end, until we figure this out together. So my first step is to crack up. So my first step is to smash up my plates into some small terrazzo pieces. So I'm just placing my plates underneath a piece of fabric to conceal all of the shards, and then taking a hammer to it. And after doing that a couple times, each plate, I now have my shards or terrazzo pieces. And I just sorted them out by like the really flat pieces and the right shapes that I would like for this. And before I get to putting these into my mold, I'm going to lay down some wax paper cut to the right size. And then I can just go ahead and lay them all out, space them out the way I want them to look, and we'll go from there. So with all my pieces laid out meticulously where I want them to be, I'm going to move on to making my plaster of Paris. The way you make plaster of Paris is 2 parts of your plaster and 1 part cold water, but I am gonna make it a little bit more liquidy than normal just because I wanna make sure that it can get in and maneuver around all of my little pieces and then it doesn't move them when I pour it in. So that's my plan moving forward. So when pouring on the plaster, I realized that it's best to do it right on top of the pieces instead of kind of like letting it all come out in a flow, because I don't want all the pieces to move. And then from there, I just kind of like tapped, settled it a little bit. And I also took an electric sander to the bottom of my metal pan just so that I can vibrate out any air bubbles. When I went to go take it out of the pan, good news is it came out really easily with that wax paper. Bad news is that there were a couple of wrinkles in the wax paper, so I just added a very thin layer of my plaster of Paris on top to fill in any of these wrinkles. Good news is if you already have some kind of mold release spray, you can just use that, and then you won't have to do this last little step where I had to fill in the wrinkles. And now my next step is to just sand it down nice and smooth and reveal all of my terrazzo pieces. then I'm just gonna go ahead and spray it with a clear sealant just to seal everything together, make sure it's not chalky and powdery. And then my very last step is to take some felt pieces and just hot glue some little felt babies on the bottom so that I have like little feet for my tray. I don't even know if I said that, guys. I'm making a tray, like a little thing that you can put on a table. You can put your collection of items on it. I think this method worked a lot better, and my learnings from this was to start small. If you're taking on a big project, maybe try your method in a smaller form instead of making like a 4-foot table and failing, and making a 4-foot table again and failing.
So last up we have the infamous holographic mirror from the That Costs How Much Urban Outfitters edition. Although, if I'm remembering now, you guys gave us a lot of heck because we call it holographic, and it actually, in fact, is more unicorn skin-esque. It's kind of like a purpley pink reflective tint coated mirror. And we tried to do it by using some of that purpley pink gift wrapping stuff that's like clear wrapping paper that you use for gift baskets and whatnot. We tried to put it on with Mod Podge and that didn't work, so we ended up settling for just taping it around the mirror, which obviously was not great. You guys knew it wasn't great, so I'm here to try and fix that. Now, a lot of you guys in the comments had some pretty awesome ideas of how we could fix it. Some said use a spray adhesive instead of the Mod Podge. Some people said try taking a piece of glass and using some Holo or unicorn paint with then that mirror spray paint to turn it into a mirror, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then someone suggested to use iridescent window tint paper. I knew that window tinting was a thing, but I didn't know that it came in iridescent colors until I looked it up. And yes, it is a thing. And I think that's what's gonna do it for us today. So that's what we're gonna attempt. So I was able to find iridescent window tint. I will link this on Amazon below if you want to purchase it for yourself. And even better, we got the exact mirror from that video back. We kept it. I took off the paper that we used the first time, and now we're here to give this thing its redemption. So I did my research before this because I do not want this to be another fail, and I watched a ton of videos on how you actually apply window tint. So I'm gonna try and recreate that today and talk you through the process as well. So the first step is going to be measuring out the size of our mirror onto this paper and cutting it out. So I have my iridescent tint cut out to be the perfect size, and now we have to move on to applying this guy onto the mirror. So what I've learned is it's kind of a 3-step process. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you clean your mirror or window, or whatever you're sticking this on, super well, because if there's any dust or dirt or anything, it's not going to lie flat and you're going to see it. So we're going to just use some glass cleaner and a really soft microfiber cloth to get that mirror as clean as absolutely possible. And the next thing you want to do is mix up in a spray bottle just a mix of water and some regular dish soap. You want to use dish soap because it's nice and slippery, because we're going to spray this onto the mirror so that when we place our film down, it has some room to move to get it in the exact right place. So the window tint actually comes with 2 sides being covered. One side is just a plain clear coat just to protect it from scratches, and the other side when we remove it is actually the sticky side of the window tint. So I'm going to remove the sticky side piece and spray that down with the soapy water mix. Then I'm going to spray my mirror down with the soapy water mix because we want everything to be wet and slippery and easy to move into place. Once you're happy with the position of the window tint, now it's time to essentially squeegee out the extra water and soap mixture so it can set. And so you can use anything for this. You can buy a fancy squeegee brush, or you can use just like a credit card or something with a straight edge like this guy. And if you're worried that's a bit sharp, you can put your microfiber cloth over it to protect it from making any scratches. Once you have it in place and all the water's been pushed out and all the little bubbles are gone, you want to let it set to dry completely. Okay, so once I've let the water under the tint completely dry, it's nice and stuck down. Now we get the oh so satisfying moment of peeling off that top film. Feels like when you get like a new electronic and you get to peel off that like safety film on it. It's so good. Okay, so now we have our completed mirror, and it looks so good, you guys. I actually think this is likely how the Urban Outfitters one was done. I think we nailed it. I think we totally redeemed ourselves with this one, but again, let's compare how our failed one went to how I think our win of a DIY went. But tell me in the comments below if you think we did better this time around.
right, thank you guys so much for tuning in to our week recreate our failed DIYs.
And I'm so happy they went much better this time. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that was a relief, because like if this was like a second fit, like I don't even know what you do. You quit.
But if there was any failed DIY that you guys thought of that we didn't do this time, please tell me below, because this was actually a really fun video. And it really actually boosted my confidence, knowing that I could nail them the second time around. So I'm not opposed to doing this again.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure that you give it your thumbs.
And if you loved it, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because I don't want you to miss these fun videos that we put out.
That's me ringing the bell.
All week.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I wanted to give Allie like the biggest shout out, because she did our Calyx upcycle into a gorgeous wardrobe, but I love the use of the sun bleached whitewash wood here. It's absolutely gorgeous. So if you guys have made anything that we've DIY'd before, please send it to us on Instagram using the hashtag #SorryGirlsSquad, because I get so happy seeing them and we get to give you guys shout outs.
Sorry, squad.